This is a short bite episode of Homeschool Together. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Today we're going back to the movies, and by movies we mean our couch and Netflix. So we recently distracted our two children while we watched as well the new movie, Chinese-themed, Chinese mythology centered movie, Over the Moon, animated feature.
Right. This is a Netflix animated feature that was recently nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Animated Movie. So I would imagine it'll probably be on the Oscar list for that as well. They don't make too many animated movies every year.
Well, Ariel, they don't make too many movies this year.
Well, this is also true. This is one that we had seen advertised on Netflix, so we thought it looked like it might be interesting, especially with a girl lead character, and we have two girls, and they really identify with watching girls on screen. So we thought then we might check it out, and then the Golden Globe nominations came out, and it was like, well, we should really give this a look. So this movie is about a girl named Fei Fei whose mother passes away. She has an illness and she dies. And so 4 years have gone by, and her father, who they own a business where they make moon cakes for this mid-autumn festival where they celebrate the moon and the moon goddess Chang'e. And so
it's a very good pronunciation. My Mandarin's a little rusty.
No, yeah, I'm sure it's terrible. But anyways, so the legend of Chang'e is that she and her husband Hoi, which is the archer, there's a couple different variations of this, but basically in all of them, at some point she takes immortality pills or something,
a drink or something,
something, and she becomes immortal, and she ends up going and living on the moon and waiting for him forever, kind of like pining away for him forever. And so this was a favorite story of Fei Fei's mother, and then she passes away. So 4 years have gone by. Her father is going to get remarried to this woman, and so she wants to go to the moon to prove to everyone that Chang'e is real. They kind of acted like it was almost I don't know, like a silly childhood thing, like, oh, you still believe in Chang'e? And she holds on to this very closely because this was something that was important to her mother, this legend. And so she wants to build a rocket to go to the moon to prove that Chang'e is real, and to remind her father. She believes that her father's getting remarried because she thinks that he doesn't remember her mother. So she wants to go there and prove that Chang'e is real, and that, love endures, that it never dies, and you should never forget the ones that you loved. And so that's her whole purpose in trying to deal with, her mother's death. And so some kind of big themes, which I thought, I wasn't sure how well our daughter was going to grasp that. Obviously, our younger daughter, as you said, there was music and there was lots of bright, vivid colors, and she totally responded to that. And of course, she doesn't know what's going on. She's too young. But our older daughter, she understood what's going on with the mommy. Oh, the mommy's sick. Oh, the mommy died. That kind of really hit her. Oh, okay. But then, the movie, it didn't. That happened very early on. That happened in the first.
It didn't dwell on it.
Yeah, that was like the first, I don't know, 10 minutes of the movie. It was very quick.
They didn't like put your heart through a macerator like an Up.
Yeah, this was not an Up situation. No, there's no tears or anything. I mean, it was moving, but it wasn't terrible. There's enough humor that goes on around it. They kind of got over that part quickly, and then on to how she's living with her dad and how their close relationship. And now there's this new woman and her son Chin, who is kind of would be like the younger brother type role. And so she's trying to kind of deal with this new dynamic, and she's trying to build this rocket and stuff. And our daughters were really enthralled. Our older daughter just absolutely loved it. There is music, which we weren't expecting. I typically think of Disney as being the movie musical type.
Yeah, if this was on Disney, then I would have maybe expected them. But it was even more music than I thought. Like every few minutes there was a song.
There was a lot of music, but you know what? All the music was very short.
Yeah.
So there was like a lot of songs that were like a minute or a minute and a half.
But it wasn't like Disney-esque. It was almost, I want to say like K-poppy. Like it was almost like Asian pop music type of stuff.
Yeah. It some of it was, and then others of it was very heartfelt and
then there
Disney-ish.
was like some kind of hip-hoppy type of song, and it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, there was some really, the music was really good. In fact, our daughter has asked our Google Play or our Google Mini to play the soundtrack numerous times since we've watched it. So it has some really interesting, good music. I really like they talk kind of a lot. There's a lot of glimpses into Chinese culture in there with how they celebrate the Moon Festival and their moon cakes that they make, and just even around their city, the look of everything and the symbolism of cranes. And so there's a lot of stuff. And then when she goes to the moon, as you'll see if you watch the trailer, and we'll link the trailer in the show notes. When she gets to the moon, everything is bright and vivid, and there's a lot of
it's
bits of mythology there too.
It's almost like a dream landscape.
Yeah, it's very fanciful, right? It's not realistic that a young child could build a rocket and go to the moon.
It's kind of funny. Like she takes off in the rocket, and then you think, oh, she's coming back down, and then something happens. It's sort of like Wizard of Oz, where she hits this point where then she goes into the magical world, and then she has to then deal with being in the magical world, and there's all these creatures, glow in the dark dogs, a lot of neon colors,
right? There was just some really
pastels. It's just it was almost if you remember Inside Out, where the world is very strange and it's weird looking, it's not normal, and then you have this normal world character within it, so it kind of it's not that it's off-putting, but there's like that really cool juxtaposition on the screen.
Yeah, our daughters really dug it. Yeah, I they were enthralled. I mean, our older especially, all the way through. The 19-month-old doesn't have that kind of attention span, but our older daughter was in it for the whole thing. It's really hard to find good quality family entertainment. We've talked about that before on the show. It's difficult. I've got problems with a lot of it.
Well, and I think that your big issue is that it's not in the live action world. It's always an animation thing. We always have to watch an animated movie to see.
And this was again another animated. Although I do really appreciate these, right? Movies like this, like Inside Out and other Pixar movies, they're great. And this is what we have for family entertainment. I think the hard thing for me is that oftentimes the animated, if it's not like a Pixar, the animated movies are not very engaging for adults. I mean, it loses my...
If it's not Pixar, it's not Disney, it's not DreamWorks, those other secondary studios, they can tend to be very kid-focused.
Right.
Yeah. They don't have the depth of the story, the kind of that reaches beyond just the entertainment value for the kids, but goes more towards, emotional or complex issues that the parents would understand. Inside Out, I think, is the pinnacle of that, where, a kid can watch that movie and really like be entertained, and then the parents are sitting there going, this is like a very high level thoughtful movie that is talking about very deep and complex issues, and it's, again, they tear at the heartstrings of the parents. And I have a whole theory around Inside Out. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But but then, something like Soul that we just watched just recently, again, a very deep movie. This is something similar to that, where there's more than just slapsticky humor and fart jokes and things like that.
There's plenty of like kid-friendly humor, but it was a compelling enough story for me to stay involved. I was really surprised how sweet the movie was. It was very endearing. You really cared about this character and wanted to see her, come to terms with her mother's death and how she can move on. And, they didn't do some tropey things, which they could have done. The woman who's going to be her stepmother wasn't bad person in any way. She was just a normal person, right? And her new brother Chin is not. He wasn't like bad. In fact, he was super excited that he'd be having a sister, and so
they twisted things there, which is
right.
It's hard to do when you're expecting one way and then you get another way. Now, with respect to like the Chinese culture, we don't know if it's like authentic or anything like that.
Right. It's made by a whole host though of Chinese American actors and things. Right. They brought in all the voice casting and things, or they really represented well with Asian American actors, and the singing is really great. Philippa Sue plays Chang'e, and she was one of the leads in Hamilton. So it was just some beautiful voice work. I thought the music was great. I thought the story was it was endearing and sweet. It was a wonderful way to spend an evening. And this is perfect because it's Chinese New Year this week. So that was kind of something we were already talking about. I think this is a great movie to watch when, if you're doing a Kinder Around the World study and you're getting to China, this is a great movie to watch. To get a little flavor of that culture in a very kid-friendly way. We really dug it. We thought it was great. It's readily available on Netflix. So,
and if you're like us, where we like to watch the Best Picture nominations for animated, and then also Best Picture just for us, more the adult movies that we're starting to work our way through. This is a great thing to watch if you're trying to get into the season. Watch those great animated movies that have been released this year. Maybe not in the theaters, but obviously on the streaming services. So you recommend?
Yeah, highly recommend. I thought this was great. If you get a chance to check this one out, let us know what you think. We really dug it. Obviously, our very Anglo-Saxon background, we don't know if this is completely authentic, but I think it's gotten good critical reception, and we really enjoyed it. Our girls
it's in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes, and for the most, we have the rule that if it's an animated movie above 70, it's probably a pretty good movie.
Yeah, typically we've
seen that to be kind of the break even, like something that's entertaining or not entertaining, that 70% range. Because I actually think for the animated movies, there's a high bar that's set for them because we have such high quality animated movies coming out of Pixar, Disney, and DreamWorks. If you get up above 70%, it's almost guaranteed worth a watch.
Yeah. I think this one definitely is. So definitely check out Over the Moon on Netflix and let us know what you think.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!